Hi, everybody. We are now officially in the most productive months of the school year, at least from our point of view as educators, right? It's that time between winter and spring break. And it is productive. It's all about learning, and we're full steam ahead. It's also a really good time for you to check in with your mentee regularly. See how they're doing, see how they're managing time, and it might be time to pull out the partnership agreement that you created in the fall and make sure that things are going for both of your perspectives the ways that you want them to go. There's nothing wrong with readjusting and making fine-tuning that partnership agreement. Our agenda really focuses on three things today. Jeff's going to share several strategies with you about how to maximize time with kids in the classroom. We're going to talk about this little tiny oval. We're getting the ovals back out, and it's called task analysis. And I always call it one of the keys to differentiation. It's an essential skill for all of us. And then we'll head back into a reminder that state assessments are on the way.
So all about time and how we make the most of the time that we have during these most productive months. It's often said that time is the currency of education, right? Each of us has the same amount of time for teaching and learning, the same amount of time to spend. And it's up to us to spend that money wisely to make ends meet. We can make the most of these most productive months by employing some time-tested, research-based practices to help us run the classroom most effectively. It's not about just saving time, it's about how we make the most of the time that we have. And so we're going to share three things with you now. First, wait time. We should pause 3 to 5 seconds every time we ask students questions in order to give them time to process the question, right? We wait a few seconds, and that promotes active listening, encourages deeper thinking, enhances the quality of responses, increases participation, right? You ask a question and then you pause and everybody thinks about the answer. If you quickly call on one student, everybody else is off the hook. So wait 3 to 5 seconds before calling on a student to give an answer. Now, newer teachers might need this advice more than the more experienced teachers with whom you work, because sometimes it seems counterintuitive that waiting actually is better than going quickly.
No, it's pretty common knowledge about wait time and about the 3 to 5 seconds after you ask a question. What's less common to know is that we also need to wait 3 to 5 seconds after a student responds. So think about that. So you just had a response and you're thinking 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You think about students having that little extra time to process the response and add to it if they want to, expand, extend it. And also you're modeling what it is to think and then answer, do a little more reflection in it.
Implementing just a few seconds of wait time after you pose a question and after the student responds can significantly improve the classroom interactions and the learning outcomes. Idea or strategy number 2, it's to use what we call 10-2 theory. And basically, we want to pause after small, meaningful chunks of information are presented in order for students to process that information. Now, Mary Budd Rowe, who also did the research about wait time, did the research about 10-2 theory primarily with older kids, with secondary and university students. And she wrote that for every 10 minutes of instruction, there should be 2 minutes of processing time. And sometimes we say 10-ish and 2-ish. But that's sort of the idea, that we want information and then processing, information and then processing. Now with younger learners, right, it stands to reason that we should have shorter durations of information and longer durations of processing, right? It doesn't have to be a complex planned for activity. It can be as simple as having your kids in pairs or trios identify the most important points or the confusing points, or to make connections to previous learning.
Jeff's exactly right that students are consolidating new information. They're figuring out, their brains are moving from short-term to long-term memory. But it's also this two-time, this two-ish. The teacher gains valuable information. The teacher monitors what's going on, what kids are saying. Perhaps she's given them a problem to solve, and she can check that one problem and see where there's incomplete understandings or misunderstandings. We know this question does not work. Does anybody have any questions? That's an old question, and we don't get valid information from it for the most part. And so this two-ish part is much more liable to be accurate where the misunderstandings or incomplete understandings are. It encourages kids to be active listeners, stay involved, increase focus, all of those things, because they're not going to be having to listen for really long periods of time when one of us in teaching gets carried away and stands and lectures for 15, 20, 25 minutes. No. We're breaking up that into little chunks of time for them.
Right. So that's what the 10-2 theory is all about, right? Breaking things up, including the processing time. If we do that, we're using time more effectively, and we're creating a student-centered learning environment that really will, as has been proven, will maximize comprehension and also impact student engagement. Now, speaking of student engagement, that brings me to the third piece here, and that's about the importance of using movement in our classroom, right?